federal election ballot despite an attempt to block her candidacy by an ally of current Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Mayoral candidate
Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed super mayor of Dalton, has finally been taken into custody after a thorough FBI investigation exposed the full extent of her long-standing pattern of corruption, abuse of power, and lavish spending. Once hailed as a promising and charismatic leader, Henyard's dramatic fall from grace has stunned the community. Now facing 22 federal charges, including misappropriation of funds and financial concealment, Henyard's extravagant lifestyle, funded by taxpayer dollars, stands in stark contrast to the deteriorating financial situation of Dalton, a town teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. While Henyard flaunted her wealth, the people of Dalton were left to shoulder the consequences of her reckless financial mismanagement. Her reign of excess, marked by shopping sprees, high-end travel, and personal indulgences, came at the expense of the very town she was meant to serve. As Dalton's economy spiraled into crisis, Henyard lived a life of luxury, funding her lifestyle with public funds while residents struggled to make ends meet. The tipping point came when the FBI, after an extensive investigation, executed a series of subpoenas, confirming long-standing rumors about Henyard's corrupt activities. While this is not Henyard's first brush with the law, she had a previous conviction for trespassing. The charges she now faces are far more serious and extensive. The 22 federal charges against her could result in up to 25 years in prison, marking a dramatic shift from her previously unchallenged position of power. Perhaps the most shocking revelation is that Henyard used taxpayer funds to finance personal shopping trips, including a staggering $7,700 spree at Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair on September 1, 2023. While hardworking Dalton residents struggled to make ends meet, they were unaware that their tax dollars were being siphoned off to finance the mayor's extravagant tastes. Instead of using her position to improve the community, Henyard treated the mayor's office as her personal playground. She even had police officers running errands for her, effectively turning them into her VIP security detail. Meanwhile, her excessive travel habits drained Dalton's finances, with more than $122,000 spent on trips, depleting the town's $5.6 million surplus and leaving a $36 million deficit in its wake. One of the most jaw-dropping examples of her wastefulness was a single driveway project that cost the town an astronomical $561,000. Money that could have been used to address critical community needs, but instead went toward maintaining Henyard's image and lavish lifestyle. From hiring professional hair and cosmetics teams to enjoying taxpayer-funded motorcades, Henyard's focus seemed to be on personal luxury rather than serving the public. Her behavior not only alienated residents, but also municipal employees, many of whom helplessly watched as the town's infrastructure and essential services deteriorated under her leadership. Public resources that should have been directed toward improving local services were instead diverted to fund Henyard's personal desires, further deepening Dalton's financial woes. The full scale of Henyard's financial mess wasn't revealed until a former police chief blew the whistle, exposing the extent of her corruption. The details of Henyard's alleged actions demonstrate not just gross mismanagement, but a blatant disregard for the people she was elected to serve. Once seen as an untouchable figure, Henyard's empire of extravagance has now come crashing down, and the town is left to pick up the pieces. With Henyard now in custody, the residents of Dalton are left to grapple with the aftermath of her actions. Their once thriving community has been left financially ruined, and it remains to be seen whether it can ever fully recover. Trust in local government has been severely damaged, and the scars of Henyard's time in office may linger for years to come. The damage caused by her reign of corruption and mismanagement is far-reaching, and the road to recovery will be long and arduous. As the legal proceedings unfold, Dalton residents can only hope for justice and accountability. They cling to the hope that their town can rebuild and that such a catastrophic failure of leadership will never happen again. However, with the damage done, the future of Dalton hangs in the balance, and the community's ability to heal will depend on their collective resilience. The lessons learned from Henyard's time in office must serve as a warning to future leaders, ensuring that the mistakes of the past are never repeated. Whether Dalton can rebuild from the wreckage of Henyard's tenure remains uncertain, But for now, the community faces a challenging path toward recovery.
Doors are locked here, and there's a sign on the building right now that says it's closed. For how long? Neither residents.
Recent revelations about Mayor Tiffany Henyard's tenure in office have painted a deeply troubling picture of a leader consumed by self-interest, financial mismanagement, and the blatant abuse of taxpayer funds. Despite having her credit card privileges revoked, Henyard orchestrated an extravagant $555,000 party for the town of Dalton, featuring high-profile performers such as Wale and Jay Holiday. Wale was paid $30,000 for a 30-minute performance, while Jay Holiday received $20,000 for his set. In addition to these lavish fees, Henyard spent $36,000 on a sound system, staff, comedians, and even rented bouncy houses that cost $6,600. The event, which was attended by only about 70 people, drew sharp criticism from concerned community members. Jennifer Roberts, a local resident, called out the misuse of taxpayer money, while former trustee Val Stubbs described the party as nothing more than a self-promotion stunt. These extravagant displays of wealth have only intensified public mistrust, as residents and federal investigators alike closely monitor Henyard's every move. However, the most significant twist in this unfolding scandal came when Henyard's former ally and right-hand woman, Carmen Carlisle, stepped forward with damning evidence of the mayor's misconduct. For 2 years, Carlisle had a front-row seat to Henyard's alleged misuse of Dalton's funds and her apparent tendency to treat the town's budget as her personal piggy bank. Initially silent, Carlisle ultimately became the key whistleblower in the case, turning over a stack of receipts to federal authorities. Her testimony has been a game-changer, shedding light on Henyard's financial mismanagement and her bold actions to further her own interests at the expense of the public. Despite the mounting criticism from residents and public figures, Henyard has shown no signs of slowing down, a move that many believe will only make the growing scandal worse. As Dalton's residents struggle to cope with the fallout from Henyard's alleged financial fraud and misconduct, the FBI's investigation, fueled by Carlisle's first-hand account, has intensified. The latest revelations have only darkened the picture of Henyard's time in office, underscoring her apparent disregard for financial responsibility. Even though her credit card privileges were revoked, Henyard still went ahead with the lavish party mentioned earlier. The extravagant event, costing a staggering $555,000, included performances from Wale and Jay Holiday, among other luxuries. The public has been left in shock, particularly in light of the town's dire financial situation. Val Stubbs' description of the party as a self-promotion scheme encapsulates the prevailing sentiment of those who feel betrayed by Henyard's misappropriation of public funds. While Dalton's budget should have been used to support essential services, Henyard used it to fund her personal tastes and indulgent lifestyle. The decision to host such an extravagant event for only a small group of people highlights the widening gap between Henyard's priorities and the needs of Dalton residents, many of whom have been struggling to maintain basic services. As the investigation progresses, Carmen Carlisle has become a pivotal figure in the case. Her testimony has provided investigators with invaluable insight into Henyard's spending habits and her apparent disregard for public welfare. According to Carlisle, Henyard not only misappropriated funds, but also used her position to promote her own career and image. Carlisle's whistleblowing has revealed the true extent of Henyard's actions, as evidenced by the receipts documenting her financial dealings over the years. The growing mistrust in Henyard has only deepened as more details about her alleged misconduct emerge. Critics, including former trustee Stubbs, have pointed out the stark contrast between Henyard's extravagant spending and the low turnout for her events. Her actions are seen as a clear example of financial mismanagement, further exacerbating the town's already fragile economy. Henyard's disregard for Dalton's financial well-being, coupled with her apparent focus on self-promotion, has made it increasingly difficult for residents to trust their leadership.
The situation in Dalton has become increasingly surreal, with Henyard appearing to ignore the growing calls for accountability and transparency, while the town's residents watch in dismay as their once thriving community teeters on the brink of financial collapse. Henyard continues to push forward with her image of business as usual, but the mounting pressure from federal investigators and the community's demands for justice make it clear that her defiance is only intensifying the scandal. The growing frustration of Dalton residents may soon force Mayor Tiffany Henyard to confront the full reality of her actions. In a shocking turn of events, Henyard voluntarily surrendered to the FBI, sending shockwaves through the town. One moment, she was carrying on with her daily activities, as though nothing had changed. The next, she had turned herself in to federal authorities. This sudden shift has left many questioning why she would give up her opulent lifestyle. Some speculate that Henyard may be attempting to strike a deal with federal prosecutors, offering to expose other individuals involved in her alleged schemes in exchange for leniency. Regardless of her motivations, Henyard's public image has been irrevocably shattered. Sources suggest that she is unable to pay her legal fees, which led to her lawyer dropping her case. The once unblemished image of Dalton's super mayor has now crumbled, and Henyard is facing the stark reality of what jail life will entail. Her rise to power, built on financial mismanagement and a network of influence, has screeched to a halt. As the investigation into her actions continues to unfold, the residents of Dalton are left to cope with the severe harm Henyard's tenure has caused. The town, once proud of its leadership, now finds itself reeling from the damage to its finances, the erosion of public trust, and the betrayal of the community's faith in its elected officials. Henyard's time as mayor has become a cautionary tale, illustrating the dangers of unchecked power, personal greed, and the far-reaching consequences of governmental corruption. From the very beginning of her administration, Henyard exhibited a level of audacity and control that unsettled many residents. As Dalton's finances began to spiral into crisis, with mounting debt and mysteriously disappearing funds, Henyard made a controversial move that would further exacerbate the town's financial troubles. She passed an ordinance cutting the salary of her successor to a mere $25,000 a year, a decision widely seen as an attempt to ensure no one could challenge her authority. This move was just one example of how Henyard sought to consolidate power while further straining the town's budget. Henyard's financial recklessness was evident throughout her tenure. One of the most shocking revelations came when it was discovered that she had spent $440,000 in a single day on Amazon. This staggering expenditure symbolized her blatant disregard for taxpayer dollars and was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the wasteful spending under her leadership. The Illinois State Controller had to intervene, halting vital payments to the town in a desperate attempt to prevent further financial hemorrhaging. As Dalton continued to collapse under Henyard's leadership, residents turned to outside sources for help, and in a controversial move, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was hired at $400 an hour to help clean up the mess Henyard had left behind. However, even Lightfoot's intervention proved ineffective in stopping the town's decline, and by the time Henyard's financial mismanagement came under federal scrutiny, Dalton's finances were in tatters. But the scandal did not end with financial mismanagement. Allegations of sexual misconduct and abuse of power soon emerged, further tarnishing Henyard's already damaged reputation. Former employees came forward, alleging wrongful termination for refusing to participate in questionable schemes, as well as claims of sexual assault and intimidation. These revelations painted a disturbing picture of an administration that used its power not to serve the public, but to intimidate, control, and silence those who dare to speak out. The most significant turning point in the scandal came when Henyard's former right-hand woman, Carmen Carlisle, stepped forward as a whistleblower. Carlisle revealed a stack of receipts and provided testimony that exposed the mayor's financial mismanagement in stunning detail. Her courageous decision to come forward was pivotal in the federal investigation, offering the evidence necessary to propel the case forward. Carlisle's revelations sparked a renewed sense of hope among Dalton residents that Henyard's reign was nearing its end, and that justice might finally be served. Despite the mounting evidence and public outcry, Henyard refused to step down. Her defiance in the face of growing accusations raised serious concerns about the integrity of the legal system and led many to suspect that she was using her position to shield herself from accountability. Even as more and more allegations were leveled against her, ranging from embezzlement of public funds to sexual assault, Henyard continued to cling to power. This defiance fueled suspicions that her time in office was not about serving the people of Dalton, but about protecting her own interests at any cost. The situation reached a boiling point when Henyard, in a dramatic and unexpected move, voluntarily surrendered to the FBI. Many speculated that this was a desperate attempt to negotiate a reduced sentence or offer information about her political allies in exchange for leniency. Her surrender raised more questions than it answered, leaving many wondering about the true motivations behind her decision. Though Henyard's voluntary surrender marked a significant shift in the scandal, it did little to quell the community's anger or provide clarity about her actions. The once glamorous image of Henyard, once celebrated as a powerful and charismatic leader, has now unraveled into a stark and sobering reality. The community that once admired her is now left to face the aftermath of her corruption and mismanagement. Henyard's lavish lifestyle, including expensive security details and extravagant spending, was funded by taxpayer dollars. The people of Dalton are now left to pick up the pieces. Federal investigators have delved deeper into Henyard's financial dealings, revealing layers of corruption that go well beyond local government. They are not only scrutinizing her personal finances, but also examining her business ventures, campaign funding, and even her charity work, which may have been another tool for self-promotion rather than genuine community service. In addition to financial mismanagement, Henyard's tenure was also marked by allegations of sexual misconduct. Staff members have come forward with claims of sexual assault and intimidation during official visits, further compounding the sense of abuse of power under her leadership. These allegations paint a deeply disturbing picture of an administration where power was wielded not for the benefit of the public, but for personal gain and control. As the FBI investigation progresses, Dalton's residents find themselves at a crossroads. While Henyard's arrest brings a sense of relief to some, it also raises pressing questions about the town's ability to recover from the damage done during her leadership. The community's trust in local government has been shattered, and the road to recovery will be long and difficult. Rebuilding the town's infrastructure, restoring financial stability, and addressing the emotional toll Henyard's actions have taken on its citizens will require a concerted effort. One of the most pressing concerns for Dalton's residents is how to restore the town's finances, which have been left in disarray after years of reckless spending, corruption, and mismanagement. The cost of cleaning up the mess Henyard left behind is astronomical, and the financial devastation caused by her actions will take years to undo. The town's residents are left grappling with uncertainty, wondering how to move forward. Yet, amid this uncertainty, there is a glimmer of hope. The community's resilience and determination to rebuild have become evident in the way residents and former employees are rallying for justice and accountability. There is a shared understanding that the only way forward is to rebuild the town from the ground up, with transparency, trust, and accountability at the core of the process. The hope is that the lessons learned from Henyard's time in office will serve as a foundation for a more ethical, transparent, and effective government in the future. As the legal proceedings against Henyard unfold, the town must find a way to restore faith in its leadership and emerge from this dark chapter stronger than before. While Henyard's downfall has brought some measure of justice, the road to recovery will be long. The financial devastation, broken trust, and emotional scars left by her actions will not disappear overnight. However, amid the uncertainty and difficulty, the people of Dalton have the opportunity to transform their narrative. The collective strength of the community, coupled with a commitment to integrity and reform, will be crucial in charting a new path forward, one that prioritizes accountability, transparency, and justice. The road ahead may be challenging, but the journey to recovery begins with a single step toward rebuilding the town's future. Henyard's fall from grace serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the devastating consequences of personal greed and misconduct. It is a cautionary tale of how one individual's actions can ripple through an entire community, leaving lasting scars that will take years to heal. Yet it also represents an opportunity for the people of Dalton to reclaim their future, rebuild their trust in government, and ensure that their leaders are held accountable for their actions.